Last week I told you how to avoid asking dead-end questions, like yes-no questions, and how to make more compelling statements that will cause the listener to have a more emotional reaction. Well, what happens when that dead-end comment is made and you don't know what to do with it because it's hard to respond to? This happens all the time in improv. And by the way, if you've never taken an improv course, you should do so. Get yourself involved with improv as soon as you can, because it's great for what you do on the radio. And this works whether you're taking calls from listeners or interviewing someone or just talking to co-hosts. In improv, every comment is a gift. And they follow that up with an attitude of yes and. Let me give you an example. If Sarah says, "Hey Jan, I asked for that report over an hour ago." Jan could say, "Yes, and I planned on sending it, but I can't find my laptop." Then Sarah would come back with something like, "Yes, and I can imagine it's hard to find your laptop on that disaster you call a desk." And Jan could say something like, "Yeah, and I know my desk is a wreck, but when you send me emails marked urgent, respond now every 10 minutes, it's kind of hard to find the time to clean it." You see what that went? There's 4 lines, but the story had momentum because each personality contributed to the scene or the conversation that was taking place. Now let's break that down. They all acknowledged the previous statement by saying yes. So if after the first line of dialogue, what if Jan would have said something like, "Report? You didn't ask for a report." It's a dead end. That ends up being a he said, she said argument, which is kind of like being a yes-no argument. Instead, they added something to the conversation and they added something to the scene. The additional information keeps the scene moving and it makes this story go forward. Isn't that cool? That's terrific. Practice that. And if you get into an improv class, they'll teach you how to do it. It's one of the fundamental things that they teach you. I recommend it for all personalities, especially if you're on a multi-cast show. But it works even if you're a solo show. And if you take phone calls, it'll make your show really come alive. So work on avoiding dead ends entirely. But when dead ends come up, figure out how to overcome them by moving through them and introducing something new for the other person to react to.